I want to just stay with TikTok for a sec. So we have Trump, who was one of the most censored, hated, attacked men in the media landscape. And he's been convicted as of now of 34 felonies. He's awaiting his sentencing, which will happen 3 days before the GOP convention, oddly enough. But he chose to go to TikTok. Now, I've been banned from TikTok, and I know there's ways to go right back. And it's actually my year anniversary of being banned from TikTok right now, because I was on Alex Jones' show June 8th. And on June 9th, I posted my video of me and Alex on TikTok, and it was like immediately, it was one of those tripwires in the algorithm for TikTok censorship. They were like, oh, Alex Jones' voice, gone. And I was done. I was like, you know what, screw this place. But I think it's good if you can use it to subvert, like what you're doing, right? So how is this going to affect TikTok and or Trump, you think? Like, what does that say about TikTok and Trump with him going now to this platform?
It's a good point, and it's unclear. I mean, I think that they're going to force TikTok's divestment, which I think is going to turn into sort of like, I think their goal is to take it and to make it a fully like establishment platform, which it kind of already is. But that's more because of pressure, because they don't want to get banned. So they censor really heavily in a pro-American way in order to like a pro-establishment American way. But Trump going on it is a great example where he's got 2.8 million followers after 2 days on the platform. 19 hours ago, he made his first video. That video has 55.7 million views in less than 24 hours. And he has like 6 times Joe Biden's followers in 19 hours in like 1 day.
See, I feel like you got to be careful with that. Got to be careful. Read between the lines.
Right. So what do you mean by that?
I'd just be skeptical.
Right, because you're saying the popularity, like to be skeptical of the popularity, which is what we were saying before the gremlins ate the wires of the computer.
Could be part of the machine.
We know about the Streisand effect. And if we know about the Streisand effect, we know that people in the power class know about the Streisand effect. So it's something to think about. Although I like Trump, and although he's flawed in many ways, I do like him for a lot of other reasons. But it's interesting knowing that we all know about the Streisand effect, which is when you censor someone and you try to take someone or something out of the picture, it just gets bigger. Why allow him to flourish at all? Which is, we're also talking about Alex Jones. Similar things happening as of last night with Alex. His studio was supposedly about to be seized by the feds. Yep. And it's like, you're just going to make him bigger. You kind of made him bigger with censoring him in the first place. So, how do you look at that when you see someone like Trump becoming, his numbers are so big on TikTok? Do your skepticism grow towards that?
I actually just live streamed about this for like a couple hours 2 days ago, about the whole Trump trial and everything, because you're exactly right. It's like, obviously the people going after Trump right now through lawfare know what the immediate outcome of that was going to be. And so I think that even the most diehard Trump supporters would be foolish not to just have one open window, one open tab in their mind of what if it's not necessarily like what if Trump was working with them and it was like literally they're both on the same team, but what if they knew that they can handle a Trump presidency perfectly well, and that they did a really good job in the last 4-year term he had, where they used the media to divide everyone. They created all kinds of vitriol and divisiveness. They handled him pretty well politically. He put a bunch of swamp people. Like, there's a lot of reasons why they might feel comfortable having another Trump presidency, and it might help their goals eventually get done, possibly. And you should have that tab open to just look for evidence that that's what they're trying to do. You might also make the argument that like maybe they're trying to use it as a piece of a multi-pronged attack. Like maybe they'll try to replace him at the RNC convention. And if we see that, then it's like, okay, that's evidence that maybe he's not actually someone they want, that they really are. Because right now it's like, of course they're going to boost his numbers when they attack him like this. So what's their end game? And we should just be looking for evidence to cue us in tighter to what version of their end game is really going on.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, it's funny because these people, at least in terms of the corporate press, they made a lot of money off of the Trump presidency. Yeah. So, and then also there was that Time magazine article about the cabal of people, businesses and people in the power class who worked to subvert the election in 2020. That was a cover of the Time magazine. It was a huge article right after the 2020 election. What do you think? Like, do you have any gut feelings towards what the goal is with all of this? Like the attack on reality, subverting people's ability to interact? Like, is it just greed, power? Is there something more nefarious happening in your mind? I know it's a tough guess.
No, it's a great question, and I think that people make it too tough because they act like there needs to be one answer when there are 8 billion people on this planet, so there are 8 billion answers to that question, right?
Yeah.
And if suppose there's 1,000 rich and powerful men that are have enough money to have an influence on the global stage, then there are 1,000 different agendas being played out on that stage. And I bet that a lot of them are teamed up and have friendships, but they're all still, like even when you and your buddies get together and have you still kind of have your own goals and you kind of are like playing the same game, but like, that's just how the world works. And so the people that are, kind of running things in their various ways. Some of them are probably motivated by profit and kind of just profit and their own legacies. Some of them are probably we know that a fair number of them are motivated by population control. Bill Gates openly has talked about his whole life how there's too many people and we need to get that down. And then in the very next sentence talking about how and if we vaccinate enough people, maybe we can get that number of people down, which is like, what the fuck did you just say?
And people applaud that type of conversation. There are people who think, yes.
It's bizarre.
It's scary, dude.
On the surface, like as a scientific take, you can understand, there are a lot of people, and we are kind of hard on the planet the way we're doing it right now. But then it's like you have to step back and look at what he just said is we need to kill people and or stop people from breeding, which is eugenics, in order to reduce the population size for the better of all, right? But I bet they're not going to stop themselves from breeding, and I bet they're not going to kill themselves. So what are they going to do?
Well, they'll probably do a type of head transplants in the future, and they'll have Neuralinks and 3D printed skeleton bodies and synthetic skin, and they can wrap over their real lizard bodies. But these what I think about too, and I'm with you. There's so many different people and so many different. I think evil transcends all, right? In terms of it's not in a silo. There's just all different types of evil, and when you're talking about that stuff in terms of greed or political power, and since this is an inverted world, I also think about human experimentation. I think about, and this is going to slowly, I think, segue back into brands that you were looking into and the control and the poison that we in this country especially consume. But it's like we are constantly experimenting on people. I mean, look at Bill Gates. Bill Gates wants to block the sun. That is not a conspiracy theory. He literally has a thing called ScopeX, and that's one of many various types of technologies or plans to block out the sun to fix the climate. I want to make sure the camera can see that in quotation marks. Fix the climate. They want to throw dust into the sky to block the sun because they think that will fix everything. And then I think about right now, you're out west, and so this might even be affecting you, although it's already been happening for decades. We have cloud seeding. We have people off the coast of San Francisco. I think it's the military throwing different chemicals and minerals into the clouds to reflect sunlight back up into it. My thing is, I think doing all of this stuff is going to have adverse effects on all of us, and I think that is the point for some of these more nefarious actors out there. They want to see what happens to the humans. And okay, if that sounds crazy to some, I will then refer you to things like what we did in Guatemala with syphilis, or the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, or Unit 731 in Japan, what the Japanese did in World War II to the Chinese. You can go through a whole list of human experimentation that's happened. So that's obviously barbaric in its own modern evil sense. And then on top of all that, I think of all the brands with all the poisons that we have on all the shelves of all the stores in this country, with all the coupons to get your deals and all the cool TV commercials that make you think you have to have this stuff. So I know you did a lot of research on brands, who owns what. What was your takeaway when you looked into all these brands? Who owns everything? Is that something else where it's like it's greed and they want to own you and own your wallet? Or is there something even more nefarious on top of that in terms of putting something in your body like detergent or shampoo to hurt you?
This is another, and again, I will say this every single time, is that there's layers, right?
Yeah.
And you have to think about it is if you're trying to organize like a vast conspiracy, or if you're trying to just like get a complex agenda done with a lot of people involved, you don't need to tell them all everything. It's like the nature of, covert operations have been using compartmentalization for ages. And if you suppose, so there's 10,000 CEOs and high executives and people involved in the corporate world in America. Yeah. And most of them are just motivated by greed and profits, and that's fine. But all it takes is 1 or 2 or 10 or 30 of them them to have some deeper agenda, be it population control for the greater good, or be it because they are literally a satanic like pedophile, which do exist, and you only need a few of them to really poison the well.
Bed Bath and Beyond, Les Wexner, right? Epstein.
If you have a few of these people up there and they have a lot of power, then they can start to trickle that down into all these other corporate agendas. Like Bill Gates wants less people to save the planet. And so that mentality can trickle down through things like ESG or through, whatever, because all of the corporations, to get to who owns them all, they're all owned by various fund managers that manage all of our money, invest in all these companies together. And they all, like the fund managers that manage our money in the stock market, our retirement funds and all that, the BlackRocks, Vanguards, and State Streets of the world, they control all the voting rights of all the shares that are held on our behalf. And so they control the voting that controls who is elected in these companies. And those are the people that are deciding what goes into the products in these companies. And so you don't need everyone to be in on a scheme. You just need them all to be motivated by profit. And then you present the profitable thing to do when you're making breakfast cereal is not to use organic, like high quality ingredients. It is to use poisonous chemicals that are low quality, that have no testing, that you can pump out like fucking cardboard, and then and then the people that have elected the boards of directors of the cereal company that are giving us poison, they are the same people that elected the board of directors of Pfizer that are curing that poison. And so you start to get this weird limited hangout where everyone is motivated by their own reasons, but like the incentive structure incentivizes everyone to wind up at the same end result, which is we all get fucked and they all get rich. And some of those rich people have far darker incentive schemes that people don't want to believe are real, but are definitely real for at least some of them.
It doesn't really sound like there's a solution. We're just screwed.
I think
not be hopeful.
No, I know.
The black pills.
I know.
Sorry.
I know.
You
Come
just
on,
black pilled me in
Mom.
15 minutes.
Can I black pill you?
Yeah. That's exactly what we need.
Yeah.
And to some, this is a black pill, but like that, I think everyone wants a fast solution. Everyone wants like a vote or a candidate or a thing, right? And that's not like we get the world we deserve, right? We're a part of the human species evolving over time. And as technology evolves, we have to evolve with it. And there's inherent complicated, like AI can fuck so many things up, but it can also do so many great things. And so the only way that we achieve real changes in these things is to culturally evolve. And so we have to go through the dark times of seeing what's wrong with corporate greed, unchecked capitalism, and culturally, as we all experience how awful and evil that is, we develop a cultural identity, like almost like a religious identity of having all as a human species gone through what is wrong with that take. And then in the next generations, as we all move through it, we all evolve to create a better society where we understand that you need to get money out of politics or else you're always going to end up at this end result. And that's a long term, like that change takes forever. But we are all a part of that change collectively trying to make our own lives better. And if we all are our best people and we all try to do our best by each other and try to, call out what's wrong in the system, we accelerate that change. Whereas if we all degenerate and we all give into comfort, we all give into all this bullshit and just like be our lowest selves, then we all slow it down.
I totally agree with you. I think, that's part of the reason why the big tech globalists want to keep us from sharing information and censoring certain voices and cut off everyone's ability to spread that awareness. Because I also, like you say, think the change is going to happen from the bottom up, from people. And having a spiritual change, like we're having that, like I was saying, the existential renaissance, where we're all questioning reality. But then it's going to have to morph into us actually putting into action and rejecting a lot of modernity in certain ways, but also embracing it. However, not to bring that back the black pill, but I also am curious what you think about this. With things like AI, I feel like there's an event horizon that we might pass where it's going to be hard to come back out of it, And you're either like, do you think we're there? Do you think that's soon? Do you think that's a possibility?
I think there's many, and we're already past a lot of them, and we're approaching others. And I think that's just the nature of like, not even just of technology, like the way we think about it, but of just evolution in general. Like the evolution of ideas in general is unstoppable. Like the nuclear bomb was always going to get invented because it's possible. And the moment you have like sentient life it's going to get curious and it's going to start making things. And like every species will eventually discover nuclear bombs if they exist in this reality where these physics are real. And so it's not necessarily about like the thresholds will get crossed. And maybe there is one that is inherently apocalyptic. Maybe there's one where you can't come back from. Who knows? But we're going to cross those thresholds regardless. And we're all going to get to witness the ones that we cross in our lifetimes, which is kind of badass. Even if they're shitty ones, it's still kind of badass to have been there at that time and to have seen it and just have observed. We all have a chance to, walk across those lines as best we can, right?
Yes. I think there's always going to be a system of horizons for sure. I'm talking about like AI, and I'm worried about the control it's going to have over humanity. Although I do see there's some positives that AI can do in terms of like, although I think it's a sticky situation when it comes to curing certain things, the way it can like go through information and comb through it so fast. It's terrifying because I think there's deeper consequences in the deeper future that could turn against us, or turn us into some weird cyborg, humanity that can be hacked by Bill Gates, immortal Bill Gates in the future. But we're not there yet. But I think
actually, you just cued me into a sort of take on it.
Sick.
As in, because you're right, AI is a really specific one with really specific red line, like a really specific event horizon.
Right.
And I'm not an expert on AI, but the way I see it is we've already crossed the event horizon that is the start of the race. Like the gun has fired, and now there are AIs being developed all over the place in secret and in public that have potential and have ability way beyond what a lot of people realize. Like the AIs that are public right now are probably child's play compared to the AIs that are secret. But
but you know what? Biden or Kim Kardashian, sometimes when they come out, they seem very AI to me.
It very well could be at the point like way beyond what people realize is possible, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think we have probably crossed the event horizon yet of one of them sort of achieving super intelligence before all the rest. And the way I see it is the best that we can hope for is to cross that event horizon, like the super intelligence horizon, with multiple AIs at once. Because the problem happens if one AI that is centralized and controlled by like evil motherfuckers crosses that threshold and there's no other AIs that are as smart as it. That's where I think we obviously wind up at like the worst possible scenario. But if we have decentralized development of AI happening all over the world, and like there's some kid in his like garage in India that is also developing an AI that is also crossing that threshold at the same time as the centralized ones, then we have a playing field that might become a lot more level, because we're going to cross that threshold regardless. And so we need to make sure that when we cross it, we have the people have some power in that crossing, and it's not just those behind the curtain.
Yeah, it's like a Mexican standoff of AI.
Yeah, exactly.
the people like have it, weapons. Just like nuclear weapons, right?